Well, we're back for another year, Coach. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me in your office once again. How we doing?
Doing great. Another year and excited about the team. Lots of changes in college football, as you know, but the last couple weeks have been football. We've been isolated from all the outside stuff and the early morning practices and the meetings in the afternoon and, heading out in the evening at 7 or 8 o'clock to go home. So it's been good to get back to football.
Talk about that a little bit, because you can everyone can get caught up in all that realignment talk. Your players are probably, wondering whether they're asking you or not. Have you noticed that they feel like, man, it's so good to be back? School's not in yet. You're just getting back to the basics, getting back to football.
Well, it's a fun time of the year for them because they're not in class and they're in training, they're in football. And a year ago, there was still some uncertainty about conference. As of now, it's pretty solid, specifically for Oklahoma State. So we hadn't really heard much about it. But just to get away from all the portal transfer and the NIL talk and things like that essentially we can't control, is nice.
Yeah, no question. I want to get to the portal, but about your new players in a second. One question on realignment, that it's all football. I mean, you got to be fired up. And I know when everything went down 2 years ago, Oklahoma and Texas are going to leave, you seemed pretty confident that staying together and getting a good plan was imperative. And Bob Bowlesby kind of set the stage with the new 4 schools we're going to see this year. And then Brett Yormark has taken this thing and run with it. You know better than anybody, leadership is always important. You guys have great leadership at the top, and now you're as stable as any conference in America.
Well, we were fortunate at Oklahoma State because we had success and people liked watching us. Our viewership was really high, we were winning, and we were selling tickets. Like this year, we've already sold out. We've sold all of our suites, sold all of our luxury seating, and I think the fans kind of wanted to pay us back. It's been pretty cool because, see, we hadn't done that since 13. Now the Big 12 is in a completely different position with renegotiation, which will start in 27, 28. We have 16 teams in 4 time zones. We had just 10 at one time in 2 time zones. So it's a very comforting feeling knowing that we're in really good shape. We're going to be at $31.5 million or more per year. And there has to be credit that's given out to Bowlesby for going and grabbing those 4 schools. There was a lot of people that didn't think it was good. I thought it was really good at that time because of what each one of them brought to the table. It turned out to be a good move. And then now with the other schools coming in and us grabbing a little bit of the West Coast piece and those time zones will be good for the future. I think it'll change again in a couple, 3 years, just from the fact that some of this travel that the student athletes are going to go through and the other sports could be a little bit of an issue. They might try to get back into some geographical locations.
Sure, but for now, there's stability, it's good, and it's been awesome. You mentioned a couple of things there, selling out the stadium. I noticed when I came in, there's cranes going on. Looks like you guys got some awesome things going. Tell me about the facility upgrades.
Well, they're just about finished with the north side. When they went in and cleaned it all up, structure-wise, the aesthetic part of it, they painted and matched and then put new seating in. They're going to do the south side next year. Once they're finished, that's the first time, even since I was coming up here watching games in junior high back in the early 80s, that the stadium has been clean.
Wow.
When I was coming up here, it was bad. It was ugly. When I was in school here, it was rusting. Boone came in and redid it, but there's some of the underneath structure that has not ever been redone. And so once we complete next year, for the first time ever, it'll be really beautiful and the aesthetic value will be awesome. It's going to be perfect. The seating's just under 60,000, which is what we need. So we continue to sell that, sell the luxury seating and suites, and we'll be in good shape.
Congratulations, by the way. Selling out your season ticket allotment already. That's got to fire you up. I could tell you mentioned it, brought it up. What do you think it is? What was it about this year? Because you guys have had some great teams heading into seasons. What was it about this upcoming year that you think the fans said, we got to be a part of that?
It's interesting. We've had years where we won 12 games and we're coming back the next year. We were preseason top 15 and didn't sell out. So it's unusual. I think a couple things. The fans see the conference realignment. They see all the issues going on, and I think they want to show the country football is important at Oklahoma State. And I think they want to see the 4 new teams. I think they're interested in watching them. Now, obviously, we don't play them all at home, but I think they want to see those teams. And then we have the Bedlam game at home. They're going to want to be here for that game.
No question. Let's start right there. Last Bedlam for maybe ever. Who knows? Just it's a long way down there. I know you got to think about earlier games before that, but let's fast forward to that. What's that going to be like? Potentially the last Bedlam right here in Stillwater.
A lot of times those games don't really factor in much because we're working. It's our job. It's what we do. But I've often thought about this with the history of it. Particularly, we don't have pro football in Oklahoma. So you've been in it, this is the game that in-state, you guys had Red River rivalry, but the in-state game, everybody's fired up about it in the workplace, everywhere across the state. It'll be unusual. The one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, but with them being in the SEC and us being in the Big 12, there's a lot of crossover in bowl games.
It's a great point.
So my guess is that there'll be bowl games that are coming up that'll be Bedlam bowl games because there's flexibility in the way the SEC and the Big 12 do their bowl games at times. Maybe there's not supposed to be, but there's flexibility. And if there's some politics involved, I would say there's a good chance that could happen.
Make that happen. Everybody always says that Red River game's the bigger rivalry. I said as a player, it was this one. We lost in 01 to you guys. You were on that staff. And then we came up here and you kicked our butt in 02. And that's whenever I realized, oh man, this is a big dang deal. So I appreciate and respect the heck out of this rivalry. It's been awesome to be a part of. As far as the new teams coming in, you catch all four. You like that?
I do. I think it's neat. It's interesting how we ended up playing all four of them. People say is an advantage, disadvantage. I don't know. They don't know us. We don't know them. Technology allows us to study so much video over the summer that I'm sure they've done their homework on us and we've done our homework on those teams. It's going to be fun. It's going to be new. This generation of young people, they like new things. They're used to their phone where they can just get rid of stuff and go to new stuff. So new teams, new conference, new alignment is exciting. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people are fired up about this year.
Absolutely. You mentioned the portal. I want to talk about your new players that you've gotten from the portal. Who are some of those names, some of those guys? Alan Bowman's got to come to mind first and foremost. Justin Wright from right up the street. The big man Kirkland in the middle. I'm intrigued to see what are some of the portal guys, what impacts have they made already through the spring and in fall camp?
Well, and at running back Elijah from Michigan State, he's showing up some. He'll be able to rotate in and make plays. Stribling, the wideout from Washington State, is making plays for us. The guys you mentioned, obviously everybody knows about Bowman. Kirkland, the nose guard. He's a dream for a linebacker with what we do, some in our odd front. He's 357 pounds, and his only role in life is to knock the center in the backfield. And linebackers play off whatever way he goes, and he's a load. He's, I don't know what he did, the 225 like 38 times or something. I'm not sure it's a lot. Very powerful, really, really strong. Justin Wright from Tulsa, as you mentioned, come over and gives us another guy inside. I feel like we have four linebackers that can play inside, which is a big advantage. Malcolm and those guys were playing 75 plays a game. I really think that we have four guys that can rotate in there and make plays. Kenneth Harris has come over. He's helped us in the secondary some. There's been a number of guys, and honestly, there's so many of them, I can't even keep up with them and remember who they all are. Now I'm used to them because they were here in the spring. Josiah Johnson is coming in and helping us at tight end. He's going to give us an active body on the edge, that we haven't had in a number of years. Sure. We need that guy, and so they're helping us out.
Let's go there. Tight end, not cowboy back. You've said a lot. I want to run the football. We're going to run the football. What have you guys done both from a practice standpoint and even from a schematic standpoint to help ensure that you guys are running the football more effectively this season?
Well, the first thing I did was went in January with the offensive staff and, told them, I said, look, I'm in this boat also. We run up big numbers for 10 years, and it's not working anymore based on the way defenses have changed. And so we have to rush the football. And the reason we couldn't run the football last year, the main reason, was because we didn't put time and effort into it. So we're going to put time and effort into it. There's things that we can do. We've worked hard on it. We're working hard on it now. There's more physicality now. In fact, I had to back it off a couple days ago. because we're so physical in practice, it was starting to concern me a little bit. So I backed it off just a little bit, other than inside drill, because of all the collisions that we had in practice. But that's what I wanted. So it started with, we need to do this, put time and effort into it, right? We get better at what we work on. And then we can create some advantages for third and fourth and short, and then create some play pass advantages, which I think will help our offense. So that was the pattern and the path that we took, and we're better now than we were last year already. Now, how good that's going to be, I don't know, but we need to average 4.5 yards a carry rushing the ball. If we can do that, we'll have success on offense.
And a big way you do that is O-line, big guys moving people. How's that group look to you so far in camp?
Knock on wood, we've been healthy. It's the first time in 2.5 or 3 years that we've been healthy enough to compete and practice really physical and not have to worry about rotating young players in that aren't ready to play at this level. You've been down in the trenches, you know, extremely difficult to compete down there when you're young. We're practicing, they're getting reps, but in games they're going to get knocked around. We haven't had to get to that point yet. And if we can make it here another 10 days, we'll be in good shape because we've practiced physical and we have enough maturity that guys understand and know what to get accomplished on game day.
You mentioned Elijah Collins, the Michigan State transfer. He's rocked up, big, physical guy. Ollie Gordon coming back. Now he's got a year under his belt. Jaden Nixon can be a home run hitter. You like that running back room?
Yes, it's going to take three. They're the guys that get beat up, they get hurt, they take a lot of direct hits from different angles, so it takes three every year. And we've got young backs that are working in with them, but we need to get those three guys healthy to the first game so they can run hard, they can rotate, and we can become a little bit more of a power running team instead of so much finesse.
Speaking of finesse, I'm just going to go to wide receivers. I know that Coach Dunn demands those guys to block, but they're outside. That room, I think most people that don't know inside would say, well, you guys lost a lot, you may be down. I got a feeling this might be one of the deeper wide receiver rooms you had, and that's a big statement because you've had some great ones. How do you feel about that room? And you mentioned Stribling, but Jaden Bray's a guy who, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be great. Brennan Presley. What do you think about that wide receiver room?
Well, we're too deep right now with experience and maturity and strength. We have, again, young guys. We got 3 young guys in here that are working. They're not ready. But we're too deep with guys that we can put out there where the game won't shock them. They've been out there, they get it. They've been in the weight room over 18 months. Their body's developed. They should be able to take hits. So that's a good thing. It's another group that we need to get through the next 10 days until we get ready for game prep.
Quarterback. I got to ask about it. Where's that race at? You've been very open talking about how Allen and Garrett you're giving everybody an opportunity to go win that job. Where's that at? And when you work through a quarterback battle, what are you looking for? Because there's got to be certain things that you're looking to see and you just know this is my guy.
Yeah, so we're looking for a guy that understands how to distribute the ball and get it into guys' hands that can make plays and move the ball and score points and minimize turnovers. So the game is the way the game's played now is defensive guys not giving up big plays, somehow finding a way to force turnovers to get off the field. The new clock rule is going to take away a couple possessions per side each game. So when you talk about offensive football, you got to reduce negative yardage plays, you got to take care of the football, and you have to be able to rush the football if you get a lead in the fourth quarter. That was another reason why we talked about getting better in the running game here. For example, we used to really easily get 14 to 16 possessions a game here. It's not going to happen now with this new rule. So let's just say it's 12. We get 12, the other team gets 12. They turn it over twice, they get 10, we get 14. So percentages are we're going to win unless they're a lot better than us. And at the quarterback position, that's going to be very, very important to make sure you understand how to distribute the ball, but also take care of the ball. Les Miles used to always say, sometimes it's okay to punt. And when I was a young coach, I thought, punting sucks. I get it. It's okay to punt sometimes. So we're looking for that, and then guys that have a good level of competition. But we have guys that are battling, like if people that have watched us practice that are our administrative staff that aren't coaches, they couldn't tell you now who we should start with our 3 quarterbacks. They could not tell you right now.
That's a good situation. Now, when do you think you'll come to that conclusion?
I would have liked to have been to it now,
right.
But it's not, my job is to put guys out there that play that deserve to play.
Sure.
And we might have to play more than one.
Okay.
Because if they deserve to play, it is a dead heat. It is a dead heat with those guys. They're all bringing something different to the table. They all have days that you're like, maybe it's him. And then it's, well, maybe it's him, and then somebody does something else, well, maybe it's him. So I'm pleased with where we're at. I wish we could do it, but right now we can't do it.
Okay. Defensively, you've made your choice as far as who the quarterback calling the defense is in Brian Nardo. It's well documented. You found him at Gannon University, Division III school. What have you seen compare to him in the springtime to where he is now implementing his defense?
I'm very pleased. Everybody has to be patient, not because he came from Gannon, but because it's a new system. We're implementing the odd front with our even front, okay?
Explain to people real quick, why we're seeing so much of football go to that. Because forever I played a lot of 4-man front. We're seeing more 3-man front, 3 safety look now than ever before.
So what we're seeing is, because of all the offenses we talked about that we did here in these other schools, is RPOs, fast-paced. So defenses have gotten smart. They've taken a lineman out of the game and putting him standing back in the middle of the field so they don't give up big plays. So because it's 3, we call it an odd front. Normally you're playing 4-down linemen, we call it an even front. Jim Knowles, we had a good even front. Our guys know the even front. All the coaches we've had here are still here. They know the even front. None of us knew the odd front. And it was very interesting. When I went through this process, I interviewed guys in high school, all levels of college, and the NFL. And there were not that many guys that really know this odd front with a robber. Now, odd front has been around forever before you got around. When I played in the 80s, it was an odd front. There was just a guy standing on the tight end that dropped, and the other guy, he did the same thing. It was an odd front, but they weren't out here because we didn't play with receivers out there. They were in here. So now, because people play spread out a lot, it looks different because they see the 3 down. So we're learning the odd front, and we're still running the even front. The challenge for Brian and the defensive staff is we need to be really good at something. Don't do so much we're not good at anything. Sometimes when you try to do both, you're not any good at anything. And offenses now are good at changing formations, running unbalanced, motioning, moving, shifting, and getting you out of place on defense. So with that being said, I feel very good about where Brian's at. And you can come to our practice, pre-practice, we do a 20-minute walkthrough. And he stands out there and coaches every position. Coaches the 5 technique, coaches the nose, coaches the inside backer, coaches the walked out guy, coaches the robber, and coaches the safety, and coaches the corner on every play. So that tells you what you got.
Yeah, I had a chance, you let me come to practice, and I had a chance to watch him in the spring, and I was blown away with his teaching. Like, get a chance to watch him, and he, just like you said, he's with safeties, he's with linebackers, and he just seems like a teacher and has such a great grasp of what this defense is.
And it's kind of laughable, but the reason why is he coached places they only had 3 guys on defense.
Had to do it all.
And he had to chalk the fields and wash the uniforms. So he had to know everything. At this level, like I started at this level, I just coached one position. We're spoiled. He had to coach the whole thing because they didn't have anybody else to coach it, and it's benefited him. But the one thing that he's done is this: players love him. And when you would look at him, people wouldn't think that, but he has a very magnetic personality. He understands. So if you know what you're doing, you played at all levels. If you know what you're doing and the players see it, they trust you because they know you know what you're talking about. So they'll say, okay, I'm going to do what he says because I know that guy knows what he's talking about. That's the one issue with coaches. If you can't fool the players, he's got that going on. Now, our defensive staff has done a great job of rallying with him, and they're learning. And I told our guys, I'm going to give you a head coach's opinion. If I were you in this defensive room, none of you guys really know the odd front. If you can learn this odd front, it's like having a master's degree when you go apply for a job. You know the even front, you know the odd front. Your resume just went up to here. And unfortunately, if he's going to do well, we might have a hard time keeping him. If so, somebody in this room's got to know the odd front if you guys want a chance to be a coordinator. And that makes my job much easier. We had guys that could have been a coordinator in an even front. I just wanted to bring an odd front guy in here to give us a different perspective, and there was nobody in that room that could do the odd front. Like I couldn't be a coordinator in the wishbone. I can coordinate a spread offense, but I can't coordinate a wishbone. So it's nothing personal. So I shared that with them. I said, you're going to get a master's degree in coaching if you learn this defense, and gives you a chance. Somebody might want you to come coach the odd front if he stays here forever. I don't know.
One guy that I'm fascinated to see in this defense, Kendall Daniels. 6'4", 215, 220, will come down and strike you. How's he looked, and where does he fit in inside this defense for you?
Well, generally the leading tackler in this style of defense is that joker robber guy in the middle, because he gets a chance to be the late fit guy on runs, and he makes the front five right. So the front five can just go. They don't have any rules. They just go to the ball and get up the field. He makes everybody right, so he gets a lot of tackles. But he also has to be able to react to play pass and downfield stuff, or pass. He's got to get and take away the middle of the field. And he's built for that, being 6'4". He's long, rangy, can run, and he can come up and tackle. So if you're drawing up, if you're like going to put a resume together for a joker, a robber in the middle of the field, that's what it would look like.
He is a big joker.
Yes.
I can tell you
and
that
he's
right
heavier now. He's 212-ish. So his attitude's great, and he'll strike you and he'll cover, which is rare.
I'm excited about him. Any other players that you say you've seen on defensively here this fall camp? Justin Wright really jumped out to me as just a leader, and just you can tell he's a grown man. Any guys that you're really excited to the start of the season because of the way they performed in fall camp?
Xavier Benson's had a great camp.
He can run.
And he looks really good now. His attitude is good, his willingness, his want to, his leadership. You're going to like him now because he will run and violently hit you, and he's done a lot. Our down guys, the Walter Sheed, Kelly, Oates, the transfer, we've got a number of down guys that have blossomed in this defense. As you can tell, I'm excited about them. Oh, yeah. And you just think about it, you played the position, so I don't have any responsibility to a certain extent. I'm just trying to knock that guard or that tackle down backwards. That's all I'm doing. If I'm in the wrong spot, I don't care. The robber makes me right, so I can just go. So all of a sudden, these guys that sometimes maybe play a little hesitant because they're thinking about what gap and all this stuff, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Just go. So guys are starting to show up more.
No thinking.
Goodlow came in from Tulsa.
Yeah,
He looks great. I think he's almost 300 pounds now. So I don't have to think. Go.
It's what happens when you put somebody Brock last. I mean, he's one of the absolute best
Yep.
in all college football. Last one for you. Kind of ask you this every year.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys got a chance to be a better football team than most anticipate.
I do.
What do you think? I mean, give me a couple of factors that will become a reality. Give me a couple of things that if you guys do this well, it's going to be a good year for Oklahoma State football.
So we have to stay healthy at a few key spots. I feel better now than I have in 3 years in the offensive line because we have 3 guards, 3 tackles, and 3 centers that if something happened could go in and play and be successful. Not that the young kids underneath them couldn't, but I don't know about them because they haven't played. I know about the other guys. Wide out, we're in the same position that we just talked about. Guys stay healthy. Whatever we do at quarterback, make a difference what level it is. Okay, your kid's level, junior high, high school, or college, or the pros, you have to get good quarterback play. in order to win games. And then defensively, I've asked Brian and the staff to make sure that we don't get too far out of our box to where we're not good at anything, because there is some new concepts. Let's just be sound and let guys run and hit. If we can do those things, and then the last thing is what we started this conversation with, we got to rush the football. We're better than what people think we are. It doesn't make a difference to me. Like, for example, in the Big 12, nobody knows who's going to win. It's been so unpredictable. That's why it draws so much viewership, because people have no idea. I think TCU was picked 7th last year. Yep. They went and played for the whole thing. So if we can do those things, we'll have a chance to have a good season.